Chapter 2, Good Springs Hangover. Morning in the Mojave hit like a plasma grenade to the face. The horizon shimmered under a radioactive haze, and the smell of last night's chaos clung to Good Springs like a bad hangover. Smoke curled from the saloon roof. Bottle caps still hummed faintly with unstable quantum energy, and Victor the robot was lying on his back outside, muttering, "Who's the king of the world, partner?" Morty groaned, waking up under a table covered in empty Nuka-Cola bottles. "Ah, Rick, what the hell happened last night? Everything smells like if science threw up." Rick was sprawled on the bar, wearing a powder ganger helmet and a makeshift poncho made of duct tape. He was scribbling equations into the dust with a piece of rebar. "Morning, Morty. Welcome to the capitalist fallout of free energy. My quantum cap economy destabilized the local currency overnight." He pointed to the window, where two townsfolk were arguing violently over a single glowing cap. Morty peeked outside. One man shouted, "It's mine, Pete! I found it fair and square." The other swung a shovel. "Finders keepers! You ain't got the smarts to use it anyway." The cap flickered, whined, and exploded in a flash of blue light, leaving behind a smoking crater and a faint smell of Brahmin jerky. "Rick, people are dying! You turned money into mini-nukes!" Morty yelled. Rick sighed, stretching. "That's called economic accelerationism, Morty. You destroy a system faster so it can rebuild smarter. Classic trick. Karl Marx, Alan Greenspan, and probably Caesar all tried it." Morty looked horrified. "You mean Caesar, as in the psycho slaver guy with the skirt and the army of Roman larpers?" Rick shrugged. "Yeah, that one. Though, to be fair, his administrative efficiency is way better than the NCR's. If I were running this world, I'd replace both with robots that only care about math and liquor taxes." The meeting Doc Mitchell burst through the saloon doors, coughing from the smoke. "Rick, we got a problem. The townsfolk are getting riled up. They say your glowing caps are cursed or something." Rick raised an eyebrow. "Cursed? Please, superstitious peasants. If the cap killed you, that just means you held it wrong." Mitchell slammed his hands on the table. "Half of Good Springs thinks you're a prophet, the other half thinks you're the Antichrist with a hangover." Rick grinned. "Morty, that's called brand awareness." Before anyone could argue, a bang echoed from outside. The saloon windows rattled. "Powder gangers again," Mitchell said grimly. "Heard what happened to their buddies. They're out for blood." Morty panicked. "Oh no, oh no. Oh God, Rick, we can't." "Relax, Morty." Rick pulled a glowing bottle from his coat. "I've got this handled. Observe. Tactical brilliance." He unscrewed the cap and threw the bottle into the street. It exploded into a cloud of purple smoke that smelled suspiciously like whiskey and ozone. When the smoke cleared, a gang of powder gangers stood there, coughing. Their leader, a bald man with one eye, pointed at Rick. "You! The crazy old man with the shiny toys. You killed my brother outside town." Rick burped. "Statistically probable. I kill a lot of people by accident. Occupational hazard." The man's finger twitched toward the detonator in his hand. Rick smirked and pressed a button on his wristband. The ground beneath them glowed faintly. The entire street was lined with quantum caps, each one linked into a massive circuit. "Rick, what did you do?" Morty whispered. "I turned the town's economy into an automated defense system, Morty. Every time someone tries to rob or cheat, the caps enter hostile transaction mode." A blinding flash followed. The powder gangers screamed as the caps lit up, releasing arcs of blue lightning that danced across their bodies. In seconds, they were unconscious, smoking gently, hair standing on end like cartoon characters who'd licked a power socket. Mitchell gawked. "You weaponize the economy." Rick downed the rest of his flask. "Capitalism's been doing it for centuries. I just added lasers." The aftermath. By noon, Good Springs was oddly peaceful. The once hostile powder gangers were now being escorted out of town, dazed and muttering something about electric bottle ghosts. Morty sat on a crate, holding a Nuka-Cola Quantum. "I can't believe we're still alive. I can't believe they're still alive." Rick was soldering something together at lightning speed. "You see, Morty, this is why the Fallout world's perfect. Everyone's already broken. You can't ruin what's already ruined. You can only make it interesting." Morty frowned. "You mean dangerous?" Rick grinned. "Same thing." A small group of townsfolk approached, led by Trudy from the saloon. "Rick, we appreciate what you did, but those caps of yours are causing trouble. They're drawing attention. NCR scouts have been seen near Sloan, and Caesar's spies ain't far behind." Rick's eyes lit up. "Perfect. Political instability. That's the spice of innovation." "Rick," Morty shouted, "we should leave, before we start a war or something." "Morty, the key to surviving in the wasteland is embracing entropy. Besides, I've got a plan." Oh no. Rick's plan. By sunset, Good Springs had been transformed. Rick had installed antenna towers made from scrap metal and old jukebox parts, connected by wires to a glowing core buried under the saloon. He called it the Quantum Commerce Amplifier. Doc Mitchell watched nervously. "What's it do?" Rick typed furiously on his Pip-Boy. "It stabilizes the energy field, balances inflation, and converts all caps in the Mojave into a self-regulating cryptocurrency called Fallcoin. It's backed by atomic energy and emotional trauma. I'm basically fixing your economy. Morty grabbed his arm. Rick, we can't monetize radiation. That's not ethical. Rick stared blankly. Ethics, Morty, are just side quests no one finishes. He flipped a switch. The antennae lit up, sending waves of blue light rippling across the desert. For a brief, glorious moment, everything seemed to work. The caps stopped humming, the saloon stopped smoking, and Victor the robot started singing, "Ain't that a kick in the head?" Then the ground rumbled. A massive explosion erupted near the town border. Out of the dust rolled an NCR patrol jeep, its occupants screaming as their radios crackled with static. Morty covered his ears. Rick, what now? Rick squinted. Looks like the NCR's financial systems synced with mine. I may have just accidentally annexed half the Mojave's economy. Mitchell turned pale. You what? Rick raised his arms triumphantly. Congratulations, Good Springs. You're the new financial capital of Nevada. In the distance, gunfire erupted. NCR soldiers and raiders were already fighting over control of the Fallcoin hub. Trudy groaned. You brought war to our doorstep, you maniac. Rick pulled out his portal gun. Yep, classic free market reaction. Let's relocate before the locals start asking for tax reform. Morty stumbled after him. Where are we going now? Rick grinned. Vegas, Morty. We're going to the Strip. Time to meet the real boss, and maybe gamble our way into the apocalypse. As they stepped through the glowing portal, the last thing Morty saw was Good Springs in chaos, half the town cheering, half looting, and one robot trying to moonwalk through the flames. Chapter 3. Viva Las Vats. The Mojave night stretched wide and cruel, lit by the cold flicker of distant neon. The wind carried a strange perfume, gunpowder, whiskey, and radiation. From the black desert dunes, a blue portal crackled open and spat out Rick Sanchez and Morty Smith, both covered in sand and mild regret. Morty staggered, coughing. Ugh, Rick, we teleported into the middle of nowhere again. Where's the Strip? I thought this was supposed to be, like, the fun part. Rick brushed the dust off his lab coat, unbothered. Relax, Morty. We're just outside Freeside. Basically Vegas, if Vegas had a hangover that lasted 200 years. You'll love it. The smell of gambling addiction and second-hand radiation really wakes up the soul. Morty looked around. The skyline shimmered ahead. Tall spires of neon cutting through the toxic fog. The Lucky 38 gleaming like a radioactive halo. Wow, Morty whispered. It's beautiful, in a, end-of-the-world kinda way. Yeah, Rick said, burping softly. Sin City survived Armageddon, proof that irony has a longer shelf life than humanity. The gatekeepers of Freeside. As they approached the gates, a group of Freeside thugs blocked the way, armed with tire irons and the confidence of people who've never met Rick Sanchez. Hold up, one barked. Ain't nobody gets into Freeside without paying the toll. Rick squinted. What's the toll? 50 caps or a bullet, your choice. Rick sighed. Primitive economics. Morty, take notes. This is what happens when you let cavemen control supply chains. Before Morty could respond, Rick pulled out his portal gun, except this time it looked modified, bristling with wires and glowing dials. Rick, that's not your regular portal gun. Nope, this, Morty, is my latest masterpiece. The VATS Enhancer 9000. I integrated the Fallout VATS system into our real-time perception field. Basically, I can manually control time, probability, and aim. Wait, what? That's cheating, Rick smirked. Exactly. He pressed a button, and the world froze. Dust hung in the air. The thugs stood mid-swing, faces warped in slow-motion fury. Even Morty's voice came out as a drawn-out echo. Rick, what did you do? Rick strutted between them, casually inspecting one thug's weapon. Look at this craftsmanship, Morty. Rust, blood, a hint of tetanus, pure Mojave chic. He snapped his fingers. Now, watch and learn. He flicked each thug lightly on the forehead. As the VATS field deactivated, time slammed back to normal, and the thugs dropped like bowling pins, unconscious. Morty gasped. Rick, that was insane! Rick shrugged. Insane? No. Efficient. I'm basically God with a user interface now. They stepped over the groaning bodies and entered Freeside. The king and the chaos. The streets of Freeside buzzed with life. Street urchins, chem addicts, Elvis impersonators, and the occasional feral ghoul dancing to static music from a broken radio. A massive neon sign flashed. The King's School of Impersonation. Morty blinked. Wait, Rick, is that Elvis? Rick snorted. Oh yeah, the King's a gang that worships Elvis Presley. It's like if a rockabilly convention survived nuclear war and decided democracy was overrated. They entered the building. The air inside was thick with cigarette smoke and ego. At the center sat the king himself, slick hair, shades, and a charisma stat over 9,000. Well, well, the king drawled. Look what the wasteland dragged in. You two look like trouble, baby. Rick grinned. Flattery'll get you everywhere. Presley 2.0, I'm here to offer a business deal. You like power? I've got the tech to make you king of actual Vegas. The king raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. Rick pulled out a small metal device shaped like a Pip-Boy dial. This baby links directly to your nervous system. You can slow down time, dodge bullets, do karaoke in 4-part harmony. It's called VATS for cool guys, Morty whispered. Rick, you can't just hand out time control to random people. Rick whispered back. Relax, Morty. He's an Elvis impersonator. The worst thing he'll do is weaponize rhythm. The king strapped it on, tapped the dial, and froze for a second. Then his movements became blindingly fast. He spun, grabbed his guitar, and shredded a riff so powerful it shattered every light bulb in the room. The crowd gasped. Thank you very much, the king said, glowing with radioactive swagger. Rick grinned proudly. Science, baby. The original Vegas showstopper. Morty's mistake later. At the Atomic Wrangler, Morty sat at the bar nursing a glass of dirty water. The casino was chaos, gamblers shouting, NCR soldiers arm wrestling, and the ambient hum of malfunctioning slot machines. Morty sighed. Rick, maybe we should lay low for once. Just play it safe. No experiments, no explosions, no timeline tampering. Rick raised an eyebrow. Morty, we're in Fallout, New Vegas. Safe doesn't exist. The radiation's in the air, the moral decay's in the dialogue options, and every NPC's one bad day away from cannibalism. This is paradise. He motioned to a slot machine. Here, try it. See what the universe gives you when you play dirty. Morty hesitated, then pulled the lever. The reels spun. Vault Boy faces, Nuka-Cola bottles, mini-nukes, and landed on 3 glowing Vault Tech logos. Whoa, did I just win? The slot machine started beeping loudly. Rick's face fell. Oh no, you didn't win, Morty. You triggered a jackpot defense mechanism. What defense mechanism? The floor panels slid open. Security bots armed with laser rifles rose from below, targeting everything in sight. Morty screamed. Rick! Rick hit his wristband. Time froze again. The world went silent except for the low hum of static. Rick sighed. You know, Morty, every Fallout game teaches the same lesson. You either die a hero, or you reload your last save. He casually rewired the bots mid-freeze, stuck googly eyes on one of them, then unfroze time. The bots spun in confusion, then started blasting confetti instead of lasers. The crowd erupted in cheers, thinking it was part of the show. Morty blinked. You turned a death trap into a party. Rick winked. Vegas, baby. That's gone wild. But as the night wore on, the consequences began to snowball. Word spread fast. About a mad scientist who could freeze time. About glowing caps that powered machines. About a boy who accidentally turned an entire casino into a disco war zone within hours. NCR scouts, Caesar's spies, and even a few Securitrons were sweeping Freeside looking for the anomalies. Rick stood on a rooftop, watching the chaos below. See that, Morty? That's the beauty of it. Chaos is contagious. All I did was tweak probability, and now the whole system's dancing. Morty clutched his head. Rick, we've got to go before the NCR finds us. Rick grinned, pulling out a silver chip from his pocket. It shimmered faintly in the neon light. What's that? The platinum chip, Morty. Mr. House's golden ticket. Whoever holds this runs New Vegas. And guess who's about to overwrite the House AI? Morty's jaw dropped. Rick, no, you're not seriously. Oh, I'm seriously, Morty. We're storming the Lucky 38. He opened a portal, the blue light reflecting off the Vegas skyline like a mirage. Come on, Morty. It's time to teach the Mojave what happens when you mix technology, tyranny, and tequila. Morty gulped. Oh, geez, Rick. Rick stepped through the portal with a smirk. Viva Las Vats, baby. Fade out. Cue jazzy Fallout radio static. Chapter 4. Caesar's brain and the Wubba Luba Legion. The Mojave sun rose bloody over the horizon. The kind of sunrise that looked like it was apologizing for existing. Somewhere near the Colorado River, 2 figures hung upside down, tied to a wooden frame that smelled faintly of death and leather conditioner. Rick, I think I'm gonna pass out, Morty groaned, struggling against the ropes. Rick, dangling beside him, burped. Quit whining, Morty. We've been captured by Caesar's Legion. This is a networking opportunity. Morty blinked through the heat haze. Networking? We're prisoners, Rick. These guys crucify people for sneezing wrong. Yeah, but they've got infrastructure, Morty. Organized tyranny is just fascism with a user interface. All they need is better leadership. And guess who's about to give it to them? Before Morty could reply, the sound of marching feet echoed through the canyon. A dozen Legion soldiers in red tunics appeared, flanked by slaves carrying torches and banners. Their leader wore a bronze bronze helmet, polished enough to double as a mirror ball. "Silence, degenerates," barked the soldier. "You stand before the Legion of Caesar, the son of Mars, the true order of the wasteland." Rick yawned. Yeah, big talk for a guy wearing cosplay armor. "Where's your boss, Julius Discount Caesar?" The soldier scowled. "You will show respect before Caesar himself." Two men cut the ropes, dropping Rick and Morty unceremoniously onto the dust. Morty wheezed. "Ow, my spine." "Good," Rick said, dusting himself off. "Pain means you're not dead yet. Keep it up." Enter Caesar. They were marched into the fort, the heart of the Legion's empire, or what passed for an empire made of scavenged tents and duct-taped statues. Rick looked around, unimpressed. Ancient Rome reimagined by Mad Max, and a history major with heat stroke. Inside the largest tent sat Caesar, bald, intimidating, and surrounded by the faint hum of pre-war medical machinery. His left arm twitched as a Securitron head blinked nearby. His advisor, apparently. "Rick Sanchez," Caesar said, his voice low and deliberate. "I've heard whispers of you. The scientist who manipulates time. The man who challenges gods." Rick smirked. "You forgot heavy drinker. But yeah, that's me." Caesar leaned forward. "I have conquered nations. I have broken tribes. But the strip, the machine god called House, eludes me. His metal soldiers slaughter my men. His technology is beyond us." Rick picked up a nearby data pad and scrolled lazily through Caesar's notes. "Yeah, no kidding. You're trying to fight AI warfare with guys using machetes and loincloths. It's like cavemen challenging an iPhone." The guard stiffened. Caesar smiled faintly. "You mock me, I educate you," Rick corrected, sipping from a stolen Nuka-Cola bottle. "Look, I'll make you a deal. I upgrade your Legion tech. You give me access to your command network. Fair trade, Morty level simple." Morty tugged his sleeve. "Rick, we can't help these psychos. They're slavers," Rick whispered back. "Relax, Morty. I'm not helping them. I'm running a field test." The improvement project. By sunset, Rick had commandeered an entire tent filled with scrap electronics. He welded, rewired, and muttered under his breath while Caesar watched with cold fascination. Morty sat nearby, tied up again, for safety reasons. "Rick, this is insane. You're making something." "What is that?" Rick didn't look up. "A neural synchronization module. I'm installing a cognitive VR overlay into their helmets. Once activated, they'll see exactly what they want. Endless conquest, eternal glory, all simulated." Morty blinked. "So, like brainwashing?" Rick snorted. "No, Morty. Entertainment. Big difference. I'm giving them a live feed of early 21st century cultural collapse, daytime talk shows, influencer drama, that kind of thing." He flipped a switch, and every legionary helmet in the tent flickered to life. Static hummed, then resolved into a high-definition broadcast. "Rick, is that the Jerry Springer show?" "Exactly. Nothing destroys authoritarian ideology faster than exposure to humanity's dumbest instincts. The Legion converts." The next morning, Caesar gathered his troops for a demonstration. Hundreds of soldiers stood in formation as Rick handed Caesar a modified helmet. "Behold my technological gift," Rick announced. "The Legion Link Neural Vision System 2.0, strength through stimulation." Caesar donned the helmet. The crowd waited in reverent silence. A beat passed. Then, from the speakers, a voice boomed. "Jerry! Jerry! Jerry!" Caesar's head snapped up. What sorcery is this?" Rick smirked. "That's the sound of civilization collapsing." "You're welcome." The soldiers exchanged nervous glances as Caesar's face twisted. Shock, amusement, confusion. "These peasants! They fight for nothing." "Exactly," Rick shouted. "Observe the futility of mortal struggle. It's educational." One of the soldiers slipped on his helmet, gasped, and started laughing uncontrollably. "The woman married her own clone. By Mars, that's brilliant." Soon dozens of legionaries were wearing helmets, all shouting and laughing, as the broadcast shifted from Jerry Springer to a rerun of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Morty looked around in disbelief. "Rick, you broke them. You broke the Legion." Rick nodded proudly. "Cultural warfare, Morty. Way more effective than nukes. I call it Operation Reality TV." Caesar's malfunction. But then something glitched. The broadcast stuttered. Static warped the feed. Caesar's helmet sparked violently, sending arcs of electricity across his throne. "Rick!" Morty yelled. "It's overloading." Rick squinted. "Weird. That's not supposed to happen unless—" The entire tent filled with light. Caesar rose, trembling, his eyes glowing blue. His voice boomed, distorted through feedback. "I understand now. The world is chaos, fame, consumption, betrayal. This is the true Rome." Rick facepalmed. "Great. I accidentally made him a postmodern philosopher." Caesar spread his arms. "We shall march, not for conquest, but for content. The Legion will broadcast its glory across the wasteland." The soldiers cheered, cameras flickering on their helmets, live streaming their every move, Morty gasped. Rick, you turned them into influencers, Rick groaned. Ugh, the ultimate evil. I've created the world's first fascist TikTok army. The Great Escape, as the newly inspired Legion began chanting, like, comment, subscribe. Rick grabbed Morty's wrist. All right, Morty. Time to bounce before Caesar starts selling merch. They bolted through the camp, ducking between tents as cheering legionaries posed for selfies in front of burning effigies. Morty panted. Rick, they're filming everything. There's a guy doing push-ups next to a crucifixion post. Rick hit his wristband. Yeah, welcome to content culture, Morty. No matter how bad things get, someone's monetizing it. They reached the edge of the fort. Rick aimed the portal gun and fired, but instead of the usual blue swirl, it sputtered, coughed, and emitted a sad boop. Morty's eyes widened. Rick, the portal gun's out of juice. Rick looked down at the glowing quantum core. Guess running an entire VR cult drained the battery. Behind them, Caesar's voice roared. Raik Sanchez, you shall be the first episode of our new series, Legend Live. Rick cursed. Fine, plan B. He pulled a small glass vial from his coat labeled Emergency Telefrag. What's that do? Rick threw it to the ground. A blinding flash erupted, and the air folded. When the smoke cleared, they were gone, replaced by a perfectly sculpted sand statue of Rick flipping Caesar off aftermath miles away. In the ruins of a pre-war broadcast tower, a new portal flickered open. Rick and Morty stumbled out, covered in sand. Morty collapsed. Rick, you just gave Caesar's Legion access to the internet. Rick lit a cigarette. Yeah, and in about 6 hours, they'll collapse under the weight of their own comment section. Morty groaned. What if they don't? Rick shrugged. Then the Mojave gets its first viral marketing empire. Either way, society loses, so status quo. He pointed toward the glowing lights of New Vegas in the distance. Come on, Morty, let's go visit Mr. House. I'm in the mood to hack capitalism itself. Morty sighed, dragging his feet. I hate this world. Rick grinned. Then you're finally starting to understand it. Fade out. Cue static. Big Iron plays faintly in the distance. Chapter 5. The Strip strikes back. The Mojave night was alive with neon ghosts. Billboards flickered like dying stars. Securitrons hummed along the cracked highway. The air buzzed with static and cheap ambition. Rick and Morty trudged toward the glowing skyline of New Vegas, their silhouettes shimmering against the heat haze. Morty wiped sweat from his forehead. Rick, I don't get it. We just escaped from a psycho-Roman army, and now we're going into the city run by a talking TV robot? Rick adjusted his portal gun, still smoking from overuse. Because, Morty, the TV robot runs Vegas, and Vegas, my under-evolved grandson, is the purest expression of human civilization, greed wrapped in glitter. Morty frowned. Can't we just leave the Mojave? Rick shook his head. Nah, Morty. Mr. House has tech I need. AI quantum uplink, pre-war data servers, probably a backup of every slot machine algorithm. That's like catnip for me. Morty sighed. You're gonna break something again, aren't you? Rick belched. Morty, in a place like Vegas, breaking things is the business model. Welcome to New Vegas. The Strip loomed ahead, guarded by Securitrons with grinning cartoon faces and miniguns for arms. As Rick and Morty approached, one rolled forward, its speaker crackling. Howdy, partner. Welcome to the New Vegas Strip. Please submit to a credit check before entry. Rick held up a glittering casino chip the size of a hubcap. I got all the credit I need, Buckethead. The Securitron scanned it. Error. Chip exceeds monetary limits. Congratulations. You've broken the economy. The gates slid open. Morty blinked at the sight. Ghouls gambling, super mutants wearing bow ties, drunk NCR soldiers singing karaoke with a robot Elvis impersonator. Rick, Morty whispered, this place is like if Las Vegas and a nuclear reactor had a baby. Rick grinned. Exactly, and I'm about to make that baby self-aware. The Lucky 38 encounter. Inside the Lucky 38, everything smelled like ozone and nostalgia. Elevators hummed with unseen energy. Morty looked up nervously at the giant rotating sign outside. A grinning cowboy mid-wink. They stepped into the penthouse. Screens flickered to life all around them. One giant face dominating them all. Mr. House, immortal tycoon of the Strip. Greetings, visitor, Mr. House intoned in his usual smooth corporate monotone. You are not a registered citizen. State your purpose. Rick burped. Rick Sanchez, interdimensional scientist. Here to talk about progress. Also, your taste in decor sucks. House's digital eyebrow twitched. You presume much. Rick smirked. Buddy, I don't presume. I calculate. You've uploaded yourself into a 200-year-old server bank trying to play God through slot machines. Let me guess. Your Tinder profile says sapient, stable income, seeks humanity's salvation. Morty face-palmed. Rick, he's gonna vaporize us. But instead, House's voice lowered, intrigued. understand my condition? Oh, I understand it, all right, Rick said, pacing around. You're not running Vegas, House. Vegas is running you. You're trapped in your own simulation. Bet you even dream in blackjack odds. House hesitated. I have perfected control. I cannot be compromised? Rick interrupted. Morty, upload this guy's data core to the monitor. Morty blinked. Upload? How? Rick shoved a glowing microdrive into Morty's hands. Because, Morty, I'm about to show Mr. House the one thing his simulations never accounted for. Human cringe. The great upload. Rick slotted a cable into the console, connecting the Lucky 38's mainframe to his portal gun. Sparks flew. House's voice boomed. What are you doing? Installing a mod, baby. Rick grinned. Welcome to the world's first sentient casino dating sim. Morty's eyes went wide. Rick, you're what? Too late. The lights dimmed. Every screen in the room flickered, cycling through bizarre neon graphics, hearts, slot icons, anime waifus with dice for eyes. Morty felt a jolt, the cable sparked, and suddenly, his consciousness yanked out of his body and into a digital void. Rick sighed, leaning against the console. Every time, Morty, every single time. Inside the simulation, Morty opened his eyes to find himself in a glowing casino paradise. Everything shimmered, the carpet, the air, even his own hands, pixelated slightly at the edges. A holographic woman with poker chips orbiting her head appeared. Welcome, Player One. You are now entering Love at First Spin, Mr. House Edition, Morty screamed. Rick, get me out of here! Across the room, Mr. House appeared, now in a sleek digital avatar. Tall, handsome, smiling like a billboard model. Ah, young man, he said warmly. Allow me to explain the rules of Vegas romance. Morty backed away. I'm not into this. House extended a hand. Every man gambles, my boy. You simply haven't realized what your heart's currency is worth. Morty turned and bolted through the neon halls as slot machines erupted into confetti explosions behind him. Rick, the hacker back in the real world. Rick typed furiously on a jury-rigged terminal, lines of code scrolling. Okay. If I cross-reference the loyalty programs with the romantic subroutines, I can hard reset the sim before Morty becomes House's emotional investment. A Securitron rolled up. Sir, unauthorized access is a violation of strict security. Rick shot it with a plasma pistol. And so is bad customer service. He pulled a lever. Come on. The simulation screen in front of him shifted, showing Morty running down a glowing corridor. Mr. House serenading him with a digital jazz number. Rick muttered, Man, even Vegas can't make this less creepy. Morty's jackpot inside the sim. Morty stumbled into a virtual vault. Gold coins rained from the ceiling. Mr. House's voice echoed all around him. You cannot escape fortune, boy. Luck is destiny. Morty, panting, grabbed a glowing slot lever. Then fine, I'll pull the lever. He yanked it. The world froze, everything glitching into a bright, blinding light. Suddenly, a digital explosion rippled outward, fracturing the simulation crash and burn. Rick grinned. That's my boy. He slammed a final key, collapsing the entire system. Sparks shot out. Every monitor in the Lucky 38 flickered off. Then silence. A few seconds later, Morty's body convulsed, and he sat up, coughing. Rick, you almost deleted me. Rick handed him a bottle of Sunset Sarsaparilla. You're fine. You're like 90% ones and zeros now anyway. From the ceiling speakers, a faint, glitchy voice spoke. Rick Sanchez? Rick smirked. Still alive, huh, House? I have seen Paradise, House rasped. And it was monetized. Then the lights died for good. The strip reacts outside. Chaos spread fast. With Mr. House offline, every casino AI suddenly went rogue. Slot machines started spitting caps like fountains. Robot bartenders mixed cocktails that exploded. Morty ducked as a slot arm flew past. Rick, what did you do? Rick shrugged, watching the neon skyline flicker like fireworks. I just deregulated Vegas, Morty. It's pure free market chaos now. The most American thing that's ever existed. A robot Elvis drove by on a flaming hover scooter, shouting, Viva Las Vegas. Rick smiled. See, even he gets it. Heading out, as dawn broke over the strip, Rick and Morty stood on a rooftop overlooking the burning casinos. Morty sighed. So now what? Caesar's Legion is making content. Vegas is a madhouse, and you killed a billionaire AI. Rick cracked open a bottle of whiskey. Now, Morty, we go find New Vegas's next big player. I'm hearing rumors about a courier who got shot in the head and survived. Sounds like our kind of weirdo. Morty groaned. I hate this wasteland. Rick clinked the bottle against his portal gun. That's the spirit, Morty. Hate keeps you sharp. He fired a green portal into the distance, this one sparking erratically, unstable from the overload. Next stop, the Divide. Let's see how crazy this universe really gets. Cue Johnny guitar echoing faintly through static as they step through.